Hey, welcome to Maximum Bat Speed. Want to do a video for you today on how to increase your load, not leak your load, increase your load, not leak it. Now, when I work with students, the vast majority of students, when they first come to me, whether in person or online video analysis, they always pretty much 90+% of the players leak their load. And I'm going to get into what that means in case those of you out there are not familiar with my channel, don't understand what it is or what causes it and what you can do to actually fix it. Okay, so let's get started here. Now, if we look at the player on the left, watch what's going on here. As she starts to swing right here, you can see, first of all, that her back elbow's behind her hands. That's correct. That's what you want. And as she starts to get into her toe touch, you're going to see that her back elbow is going to actually start leaking or starting to drop. Okay, so I'll just draw a little line right there where her back elbow is. And as she starts to get into her toe touch, watch what happens here. Instead of the back elbow working up, back and behind her, as she gets into her toe touch, you can see here that her back elbow actually drops. So now her back elbow is right here, okay? And at this stage of the swing, what you want for maximum resistance, maximum torque, maximum pullback, you should have a shoulder to shoulder to elbow look, okay? And I'll get into that in a second, okay? Now, if we look at the player, okay, now watch what's going on with her. Now as she starts to get into her swing, and I'll just do the same thing that I did with the player on the left. I'll just draw a little line right there where her back elbow is, and as she starts to get into her toe touch, watch what happens. You're going to see here that she does a beautiful job of increasing her resistance, increasing that load. Now it's very obvious that her back elbow is up here. So both of them are at toe touch. And you can see there's a big difference in regards to how the players look. In regards to the back elbow, the player on the right increased the load, the player on the left leaked the load. Now again, it's quite obvious, it's quite obvious that if you do leak your load, if you leak anything, you're going to be losing something, okay? You're losing something. So she's losing resistance, she's losing pullback, she's losing power in doing this. Now, can you get away with what the player on the left is doing? Absolutely, but it doesn't mean that there's not enough room and potential to increase your power, increase your swing. Now, again, the player on the right, at this stage of the swing, just a beautiful, beautiful toe touch position, okay? So, as we go further here with the swing, we're going to see that there's other things going on. Again, let's go back to the player on the left. Just to review, the player on the left, instead of going from that shoulder to elbow or increasing the load, as she gets into her toe touch, her back elbow starts to drop. And again, the player on the right, you can see here that she has just that shoulder to elbow look, just beautiful look. Now, the reason why when you leak your load is not good is because not only are you losing power, not only are you losing the potential for you to hit with a higher slugging percentage, but you also start to do other things mechanically that kind of a cause and effect. And by that I mean this. Now watch what's going on with the player on the left. As she gets into her toe touch right here, she's starting to kind of carry her hands with her. Okay, see how she's kind of carrying her hands with her for a while? In other words, what I'm talking about is she's kind of carrying this kind of look. Okay, she has this kind of look right there, and she's carrying it with her as she gets into her toe touch for a while. So watch this, see that? She's still carrying it with her. In other words, she's not really walking away from the hands, okay? And that's because there's no resistance, there's no pullback going on, and that causes problems, okay? Another thing that's going on right here when you do that is that your swing tends to get long instead of more compact. And by that I mean this. Now watch what's going on when you leak your load. What happens with players that don't apply enough resistance, enough pullback, their swings get kind of long, their hands start to get detached from the back of the deltoid. See that? See what's going on right there? Now by that I mean this. If you do not apply enough resistance, enough pullback, and this is very common, record your child, record your students. If you see this kind of a look like this, okay, where you're starting to see when they're getting into their toe touch heel plant, where their hands are much greatly separated from the shoulder area. Now watch, look at the distance right there. I'll just go ahead and that's pretty much the distance that she has right here between her hands and her deltoid at pretty much at the heel plant stage of the swing. Now, if you go to the player on the right, now watch what happens. And again, By leaking your load, your hands are going to kind of drop. They're going to get separated from your deltoid because there's no resistance, there's no scap load. And with this swing right here, because she has this beautiful, just does a beautiful job right there of applying resistance and pullback, you're going to see that her hands right here between her hands there and the shoulder, look at the difference, okay? Now the image on the right is a lot larger, but yet even though the hands are a lot closer, okay? The reason why is because she's applying such great resistance, great pullback, that it does not allow for the hands to drop. It does not allow for the hands to get separated from the deltoid area. This is what is called a compact, powerful swing, okay? Now again, when you're leaking your load, what your players doing on the left, that is very common. That's one of the reasons why I'm much of a strong advocate of the pullback, the resistance. Those of you who follow my channel know that I talk a lot about that. Now another thing, cause and effect of not applying good resistance and pullback or leaking your load is this. Now watch what's going on right here. Her hands get separated and then the hands start to drop, okay? Drop considerably. Watch what's going on right here. Now at this stage of the swing right here, you can see here that her hands are starting to drop, and furthermore, not only are they dropping, but her back elbow is starting to creep underneath her hands right here. Now, one of the reasons why this creeping underneath like this is occurring is because the wrists are flat, okay? And by that I mean this. Now you can see here how her wrist is right here. I'll just draw a little line where her wrists are. That's pretty flat, and the bat is very flat right there, okay? At this stage of the swing, the hand should be higher and the bat should be over her head, okay? So if you were looking at it, for example, from the pitcher's view, you would see kind of an angle like this where the bat is kind of looking like this, really flat, okay? Now watch what's right at this player right here on the right, okay? They're both pretty much at the same stage of the swing, the player on the right and the player on the left, okay? And again, this pretty much at the same stage of the swing right about right here, okay? They're both like almost identical. Now, if you look at what's going on here with the player on the left, okay, let me just erase this right here. Now, look at the player on the right. Now, look at the wrists on the player, again, the wrists on the player on the left, and that creates, if you have flat wrists, it's going to create pretty much a flat bat. Now, because this player's wrist is much more vertical, okay, it's not as flat, you're going to create a bat that is much more vertical, okay? Therefore, it's going to not only allow you to have a better hand path, but it's also applying the resistance and having your hands more vertical. It's going to allow you to have a better hand path, and it's going to keep your back elbow behind your hands, okay? That's going to create so much bat speed through the hitting area, okay? Now, as we go further here, watch what's going on. Now, let me put this here. Now let's focus on the player on the left again, okay? And I'm just giving you this because, again, when you leak your load, this is very common. Again, over the years working with players that leak their load, that do not have resistance, is again, the hands tend to get separated, the hands tend to drop, players tend to have bat drag where the back elbow creeps underneath the hands, the bat kind of drags through the hitting area, okay? That's deprives you of a lot of bat speed, okay? Now by doing that also, because you do not have the pullback, you do not have the resistance, your lead elbow is going to most likely, if your hands drop, that means your lead elbow is also going to drop. At this stage of the swing, your lead elbow should be working up to the height of the mouth. And those of you who follow my channel, you know that I talk about letting the lead elbow work up to the height of the mouth, okay? So right here, I'll just draw this line there, where the lead, pretty much where the height of the mouth is, and as she starts to swing, you can see that it's very obvious that her lead elbow is below the hands. Now her lead elbow right now, she just got contact with the ball, okay, and her lead elbow is right here, okay, and you can see that her bat is pretty flat. In other words, she does not have the barrel below the hands the way she's supposed to. Now the way it's supposed to look, okay, and I'll do the same thing to the player on the right, and this is again just to help you out so you understand what elite mechanics look like, okay? I'm going to draw the same thing to the height of the mouth right here with this player right here, okay? And again, so you can kind of get an idea what I'm talking about. because of the pullback, the resistance, everything we talked about. It allows the hands to work closer to the deltoid, keeps it a much better hand path, and then watch what happens from there. Watch how the lead elbow works very nicely up to the height of the mouth, and look at the difference as far as where the bat is. The barrel stays below the hands. Look at that. So at this stage of the swing, and I'm just going to kind of show you what's going on here to give you an idea of how nicely the player on the right, what she's doing. She has the lead elbow working up to the height of the mouth, okay? She has the forearm below the hands right here, okay? And then she has the barrel below the hands just like this. This is just beautiful mechanics. And again, with this player right here, as she starts to get into her swing, and we'll just back it up just a little bit right here, all right? You can see here, at this stage of the swing, she'd be much better off with the lead elbow working more like this, more to the height of the mouth, the forearm working more like this, okay, and then the barrel working below the hands more like this, okay, kind of a swing like this. This is going to allow her to hit to and through the ball much better. But all of this, as far as these mechanics that she's doing right now, which I consider them subpar mechanics, and again, you know, if I was working with her, I would not allow my player to do this. I would work with them. Trust me, it's pretty easy to fix. Is you just have to kind of build it, and once you build it, believe me, it starts to happen very quickly where you start to have a swing like the player on the right. But anyway, if we go back here, and this is really important to understand, okay, all that stuff that happens at contact, okay, all the stuff that happens right here where you start rolling and you start kind of flipping your bat through the hands, your hands start to drop, it all starts back here where you're not applying that shoulder to elbow look like the player on the right, where she, again, if we go back to her, where she applies this pullback. Her sequence is beautiful. She starts pulling back as she strides, pull back as she strides. She gets to toe touch. She has that beautiful look, okay? Now, I mentioned to you earlier that a drill, I believe I did, that would be very, very beneficial to this lady on the left, or for you out there who are struggling with leaking your load. What I would do, and this is what I tell my students when I'm doing online video analysis or when I'm working with them in person. Again, it's a process to get to this stage. Before I even get to this stage, again, I build a swing from the ground up. But this is a great drill for you to just do at home. Now get in front of a mirror and very slowly and methodically get to toe touch. Now you're supposed to do this with very smooth tempo. Even if you're playing in the MLB, if you're playing elite softball, always have very smooth tempo. So get to toe touch just like if you were in a game, very smooth tempo. Stop right at toe touch, and what I want you to do is just look in the mirror, and I want you to have a shoulder to shoulder, the elbow look just like this, okay? And I want to see your back elbow up here, okay? Up here. I don't want to see your back elbow right here. Now, if you're doing what this young lady's doing on the left, for you to have a look like the player, look on the right, for you to have a look like this, like she does right here, this very, very elite toe touch position, okay, where your back elbow is up here, it's going to feel very awkward. It's going to feel probably very uncomfortable, and you're going to probably feel like your body's might even hurt a little bit because you're applying something that muscles that you've never used and apply something that you've never applied before, okay? But trust me, after a while, the more you do it, it's going to become more natural. You're going to start to understand what the body should feel like in an elite swing, the way the body should feel in an elite swing. What the player on the left is doing, again, what I do is I gauge all swings on what the most elite MLB players do in the world. Why? Because that is the goal. That is the goal. I teach the MLB swing to my male students and to my female students. Why? Because the swing is a swing is a swing. Okay? The bat doesn't know whether it's a softball or baseball, but the body must have elite mechanics in order to catch up to 100 mile per hour plus fastballs. And again, in softball, players are getting stronger, they're getting bigger, and they also, softball players, need to improve their mechanics, okay? So again, I hope this video is helpful to letting you understand what must be done. So again, over and over, when you're working on your swing, just stop at toe touch right here and feel that pullback. Feel that resistance, okay? And then once you get to heel plant, okay, feel that you're pulling back, and at this stage of the swing, what I want to see is that your back elbow is still behind your hands, okay? Now from this angle right here on the right, it's pretty hard, it's hard to tell, but as she starts to swing right here, watch what's going on right here. You can see it very obvious right here. See how her back elbow at this stage of the swing is behind. It's very obvious that her back elbow is behind her hands, right there. Now that's where I want you to where I want you to do when you're in the front of a mirror. Now you cannot do this fast, because if you do and you have a swing again like the player on the left and you try to do this quickly, trust me, you're not going to be able to do it. And I'm going to put these players both at the same stage of the swing right here, okay? Pretty much they're both at the same stage of the swing. And you can see it's very obvious that one is applying resistance and one is not. And look at this. Look at the difference here. This is where her back elbow is, okay? This is where her hands are. And again, I explained to you why that occurs. The player on the left is going to drag the bat through the zone, depriving her of a lot of bat speed. Now, can you hit home runs like this? Yes, you can. The fences are only 200 feet long, but I guarantee you, if she was to do what the player on the right, I can guarantee you she'd be hitting the ball 250 feet, maybe close to 300 feet. I've seen softball players hit the ball that far, but that have great mechanics, okay? So anyway, when you're doing the drill, very slowly, methodically, I want you to see that your back elbow is behind your hands as you are applying this drill, okay? And again, just on conclusion here, if we look at the player on the right, okay, look at the player on the right, I want you to just make sure that you start with your back elbow behind your hands. As you get to toe touch, stop in front of a mirror where your back elbow is working up, back, and behind you. As you get into your heel plant, feel that resistance. Continue to feel the pullback. Continue to feel the resistance, okay? And then as you get into your swing right here, as you very slowly and methodically, very obvious at this stage of the swing that her back elbow's behind her hands. Feel that, and as you go to the next stage, feel that your back elbow's behind your hands, and then from there, you know, you're on your way to, hopefully at this stage of the swing, will be much easier. Let the lead elbow work up to the height of the mouth, and again, keep the barrel below the hands, and this is going to help you tremendously to stay in the zone longer. Again, this video right here, what I did for you, I've worked with it with a lot of my online students. When I build your swing plan, I elaborate on this a lot more. I hope you liked it, but please give me a like if you learned something. I hope you like the drill. I truly believe it's going to help you to increase your load, not to leak your load. Give me a like if you like the video, and subscribe to my channel. I got about 100 or more videos of all instructional. I think they'll help you tremendously. I'm always very appreciative of my followers and people who subscribe to my channel. I hope everyone has a blessed day. God bless everyone.